guess what? There may be a resolution in the Behringer versus Klon, or should I say Klon versus Behringer lawsuit that if you've been paying attention, you know about. I covered it in a previous video. I'll link that below. But essentially what happened was Behringer made a Klon clone and it got a little bit too close, and Bill Finnegan and Klon sued them. Now, if you go to the Behringer website, this is where things have gotten interesting. As far as I know, the actual court filing, there's no update to that as a recording of this video, but I'm assuming that's coming. Because if you look at the website, we have now the Centara Overdrive, not the Centaur Overdrive, which has now become the lawsuit pedal. Let me know if you got one in the comments below. But now we have the Centara pedal, and there's a few things I want to talk about here. If you caught my first video on this, I outlined the exact points in the lawsuit that Klon was suing over, because we probably all have the same question. Like, this is not the first Klon clone. In fact, it's not even the first Klon clone that looks like one of the original Klons. There have been those as well. How did those get away with it? And not the Behringer one. Now, some of you had said that the parent company of Behringer has deeper pockets, and that's why they chose to go after them. I'm not going to say that's not true. I'm not taking sides here. I don't know if that's true. What I will tell you is that the new version of the Centara Overdrive that we are looking at here actually solves almost all of the problems that were brought up in that first lawsuit. Well, the only lawsuit, but in the first version that was a part of that lawsuit. Namely, and I say namely on purpose, you'll notice this one says Behringer right on the front. Now, some of you corrected me in my previous video where I said that it didn't say Behringer anywhere on the front of the, or anywhere on the pedal, period. That other companies like Warm Audio were smart enough to put their logo or name on the front to differentiate. And Behringer did not. They did have it above the input jack and output jack on the back of the pedal, but you'll notice it has now been moved to the face of the pedal. Beyond that, we do have a similar but different logo. Now, the logo was not necessarily part of this past lawsuit. I think this was probably done to be on the safe side. What was part of the lawsuit, though, was the actual name Centaur. They called the first version, they being Behringer, the Centaur Overdrive. And Centaur is actually trademarked by Klon LLC and Bill Finnegan. So that was a potential violation of trademark. And what they've done here is what most other companies have done, which is change the name to something that indicates what this is inspired by, the Klon Centaur, but it is different enough to not cross that line. So Centara, Centavo, you name it, the list goes on of ways that different companies who have made Klon-inspired pedals have, kind of gotten around maybe some potential legal issues. So what do we think about this? Does anybody even want this version? Or did you only want it because it was part of this mystique and lawsuit? We haven't really even talked about how it sounds. Because again, this is not the first Klon clone that's out there. There are tons of them, cheap and expensive and in between. So where does this fall in that spectrum for you? Does it actually sound good? Is it worth it? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this used to be more expensive. Now this one's $59.90 in the US. Interesting, MSRP. I don't remember if that was the MSRP before or not. And it does say excluding the US. So does that have something to do with it? I am not sure. So again, like I said in my first video, which I will link here, go check that out because that really just outlines the details of the lawsuit. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, and I'm certainly not an expert on this. So if you are, please weigh in the comments because I know that you will. But I just thought I would update you because this was a big deal. Everybody made a video about it 3 weeks ago. But I think this is worth noting that we've got a change here. Is this a response to the lawsuit? I think it's safe to say yes. Is it going to appease and satisfy what Klon and Bill Finnegan were looking to get out of the lawsuit? We shall see. I would imagine it's going to be affected in some way, shape, or form by Behringer's change here. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next one.